Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure unto the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'm going to start it off in Matthew chapter 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And that word iniquity in the Strongs is G458, anomia. And in the outline of biblical usage, it says the condition of without law, because ignorant of it, because of violating it, contempt and violation of law. And hey, we're already seeing this take place in America with, rampant crime taking place all across the country. And it looks like the, police and law enforcement are paralyzed to do anything about it. And that's happening while things are still good. You've still got power, food, water, all these creature comforts and other amenities. How bad do you think it's going to be when all those things are taken away, which they will be taken away, because we are quickly coming into the times of Jacob's trouble, which is going to be a time that's worse than any other point in human history. As it says in Jeremiah 30, verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the times of Jacob's trouble. Hey, where iniquity is going to abound that much more than it already is. And as it said, the love of many shall wax cold. And when we get that word cold, it's G5594, psycho, which, that word shouldn't need any further description, but I'll get one of the definitions in the biblical usage, a metaphor of waning love. People are going to be in that psychotic, cold, I'm only caring about myself spirit, which, again, people are already in a spirit like that right now when they have everything at their fingertips. How much worse is it going to be when it's really your life, or the other man's life? Hey, to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans out there, yeah, you better quit playing around, because Jacob's trouble is quickly coming down the pipeline. And the only ones that are going to be saved out of it are those of the hopeful elect, those Israelites that have heard this word and woken back up to their identities and are doing everything they can to please their power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. So as it says back in Jeremiah 30, verse 7, but he shall be saved out of it. Those of the hopeful elect that are doing whatever they can right now to make their calling and election sure. But now I'm going to get into these few articles showing that, iniquity or lawlessness, people having contempt for the law and violating it is taking place as we speak. And the first article is from the economiccollapseblog.com titled, Why is everyone making such a big deal about one shooting when 14 million crimes are committed in the U.S. each year? Are we supposed to be shocked that someone was just gunned down on the streets of New York City? The truth is that this happens all the time. Violence is out of control in the Big Apple. And of course, the exact same thing could be said about most of our other major cities. Hey, another contender for the top violence spot is down here in New Orleans. You had one of some Jake, I believe he was in the police department, a couple of years ago on the news. He said, this place, he either said this place is Gotham City or New Orleans is not Gotham City, which either way, that's bad, comparing a city to Gotham City, which, if you know about that in Batman, is just a completely crime-ridden war zone, which is what it's like for most of the United States of America. And it's only going to get worse as the economic, and moral situation deteriorates out here. According to the FBI, more than 14 million crimes were committed in the United States last year. The only reason why everybody is suddenly making a big deal about this is because someone important got shot. Our society is dominated by large corporations, and so when the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the healthcare industry gets gunned down, it is going to make news. The CEO of United Health's insurance division was gunned down Wednesday morning outside the Hilton Hotel in Midtown in what police called a brazen, targeted attack. Brian Thompson, 50, was repeatedly shot by a masked gunman about 6:46 a.m., who had been lying in wait outside the 6th Avenue Hotel, said NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target, she said. And her brother showed me a clip of the deletion. And this guy, he had the hood on, he had the pistol with the silencer. He was ready to pull off some Metal Gear Solid type action. And, with this guy being a CEO, there's a lot of speculations that it was a targeted attack because of the medical company he worked for. They had denied a lot of people, medical access. But this just goes to show that in the times of Jacob's trouble we are coming into, nobody's going to be safe. No, rich, poor, you name it. Just those that have that protective hedge of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai over them. Which I'm going to get Proverbs 11:4 real quick. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. Point blank, period. You won't be able to buy your way out of the judgment of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, as this Edomite wasn't able to. But remember that Proverbs 11:4, because we're going to go back to it a little later. But now I'm going to jump down a little bit in this article. But what about the countless other victims that never have their cases solved? As I discussed the other day, crime in New York City is spiking dramatically. The Upper West Side has devolved into a Wild West atmosphere where anything goes. Because iniquity, lawlessness has abounded. Terrified crime victims and neighbors begging for more cops told the Post. Criminals are more emboldened than ever in the ritzy NAB, with robberies soaring over 30% compared to last year, and carjackers so brazen they flash their guns without concern on consecutive Sundays in broad daylight. I have never felt so scared in this neighborhood the way I feel now, one of the carjacking victims told the Post this week. Sadly, similar conditions prevail in most of our other major cities. In Washington, D.C., Amazon has actually altered delivery procedures in 2 of the most dangerous zip codes because there have been so many targeted acts against drivers delivering Amazon packages. We want to be able to deliver as fast as we possibly can to every zip code across the country. However, at the same time, we must put the safety of delivery drivers first, Nantel said in a statement. In the zip codes in question, there have been specific and targeted acts against drivers delivering Amazon packages. We made the deliberate choice to adjust our operations, including delivery routes and times, for the sole reason of protecting the safety of drivers. Many years ago, I would walk the streets of Washington, D.C. with little fear. Needless to say, those days are long gone, and they're never coming back. Earlier this week, it was being reported that Secret Service agents that were assigned to U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen actually shot at suspects that were attempting to break into vehicles along a D.C. street. A Secret Service special agent protecting U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen opened fire early Tuesday on people who were suspected to be trying to break into cars, authorities said. Yellen was not harmed, and there's no indication she or the Secret Service were specifically targeted. But look how close this happened to a so-called important person in society. Again, that Proverbs 11 verse 4, riches profit not in the day of wrath. If Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai wants to touch you, he's going to touch you. And a lot of you people from all walks of society are about to be judged by Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai horrifically. A special agent was working a protective assignment on Stevenson Place Northwest in Washington, D.C. at about 1:30 a.m. when the agent observed a sedan with multiple occupants who were attempting to open car doors along the street, the Secret Service said in a statement. The assignment was outside Yellen's home, law enforcement sources told News 4. When ordinary people have their vehicles stolen, nobody really cares because it happens constantly. In fact, one recent report found that the number of vehicle thefts in the United States each year is approaching 1 million. A new report by LendingTree says the number of cars stolen yearly in the United States is approaching 1 million. The report added that vehicle thefts jumped nearly 14% nationwide from 2020 to 2022. Of course, the level of shoplifting in our country absolutely dwarfs the levels of vehicle theft. U.S. retailers collectively lose more than $100 billion a year to shrink at this point. When I say that we are experiencing a crime wave, I am not overstating things one bit. In fact, I may actually be understating the severity of the problem. But that's it with this first article. But as you can see, crime just continues to intensify in the United States of America. And, the situation has only been exacerbated with a lot of police, leaving the police force due to a myriad of different reasons. And then, new recruit levels are at lows as well. But now I'm going to go to my next article on endoftheamericandream.com titled, "This Crime Wave is Really Starting to Get Out of Hand." This didn't happen by accident. The horrifying crime wave that we are experiencing right now is the result of the deliberate policies of our leaders. Over the past 4 years, millions of people have been allowed to come pouring into the country through our wide open borders. Unfortunately, even gang members and individuals that had previously been convicted of committing very serious crimes were allowed to come in without being properly screened. Now, crime is completely and utterly out of control in many areas of the country, and it certainly isn't going to be easy to clean this mess up. And that's a whole nother factor added to this situation. All these undocumented migrants coming across the border, which, a lot of them do have criminal records. New York City is more than 2,000 miles from the southern border, but like so many of our other major cities, it is now being forced to deal with the dramatic rise in crime. According to the New York Post, terrified residents of the Upper West Side are literally begging for more cops because crime has gotten so bad. And these few statements were in the previous article, so I'm going to jump down a bit. In one of the wealthiest areas of the Big Apple, an atmosphere where anything goes now prevails. Iniquity shall abound. How in the world did this happen? Sadly, the answer is obvious. It is being reported that there are almost 60,000 criminal migrants in New York City at this point. There are now almost 60,000 criminal migrants in New York City, according to new figures from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The figures reviewed by the New York Post show that there are 58,000 illegal migrants who are criminals or are facing criminal charges. As the point states, of the 759,218 illegal border crossers living in the Big Apple, the feds were aware of, as of November 17th, a jaw-dropping 58,626, or 7.7%, were either previously convicted of crimes or had criminal charges pending. If our borders were secure, things would be far different. But now, criminals openly sell goods that they have stolen on the sidewalks in some of the ritziest parts of New York City. Of course, it certainly doesn't help that police officers in New York have their hands tied and that those in authority are not very interested in prosecuting nonviolent crimes. In fact, one veteran NYPD detective recently admitted that criminals are emboldened by the lack of prosecution for anything in New York City. The carjackers and other shameless criminals are emboldened by the lack of prosecution, because of ignorant of it, because of violating it, because of having contempt of the law. The lack of prosecution for anything in New York City, a veteran NYPD detective said. They're also doing it in broad daylight, so they're not even caring who's around. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is going to have to step up and do something, the detective added. But don't hold your breath. Sadly, even when migrants commit violent crimes, they are often put right back into the streets. Needless to say, this can often have tragic consequences. And I'm guessing that's saying what country they came from. Immigrant with an extensive criminal background was arrested for attempting to kidnap and rape a stranger he captured on a popular Virginia trail days after being released from jail, according to police. During a press conference Monday evening, Herndon Police Department announced that Dennis Humberto Navarrete Romero, 31, was charged with abduction with the intent to defile and rape a stranger he grabbed off a trail. Let me start by saying that I am incredibly saddened and outraged that a crime like this could happen here in the town of Herndon, said Herndon Police Chief Maggie DeBoard. How many times have we seen women get physically assaulted by violent criminals that get put back into the streets instead of being deported? Hey, that's another thing. Isaiah 32, rise up, ye careless women that are at ease, for that vintage shall fail. Hey, all these government benefits and other benefits you had in society that have protected you for the last couple of decades are quickly eroding away. And during Jacob's trouble, you're going to be one of the main targets out here, completely defenseless for the taking. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we keep getting the same results. When will the madness finally end? And when America is destroyed? As I have discussed previously, unrestrained migration has fueled the tremendous growth of transnational gangs that we have been witnessing. In addition to selling drugs and trafficking women, these gangs have also been systematically invading homes all over the country. Now get a hold of this. Now that the homes of NFL players such as Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are being hit, this crisis is starting to receive the kind of attention that it deserves. The NFL issued a security alert to team security directors and players union Wednesday about organized and skilled criminals that are increasingly targeting the homes of professional athletes, including the recent burglaries of Kansas City Chiefs stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, according to the NFL memo obtained by NFL.com. Sources say the FBI is investigating the crime wave as international organized crime. The league, the NFL Players Association, and team security forces also have been monitoring the crime spree, which is believed to be tied to South American crime syndicates. At least one other current NFL player's home was burglarized in the past week. It's legit, said one source familiar with the situation. It's a transnational crime ring. And over the last 3 weeks, they've focused on NBA and NFL players, and it's all over the country. So, hey, the average person, all the way to those that are higher up in society, are getting targeted by criminals. Back in that Proverbs 11 verse 4, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. And you would think that, NFL and NBA players would live in gated communities. Well, I guess that's not doing too much to stop these crime syndicates out here. Like I've been saying throughout the video, the only thing that is going to get you through these times of Jacob's trouble, which are going to be like no other, is going to be Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai saving you out of it. Verse 5, the righteousness of the perfect shall direct his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. And you people in America are engulfed in wickedness. So you're going to be, you're going to fall by this wickedness, you've upheld as the normal standard of life. But, that's it with those articles. And also, like I've been saying throughout the video, all these things are taking place while you've still got running water, you've got electricity, and you can go to the grocery store to buy food. How much worse is it going to be when people are actually doing these things for survival and not leisure? This is Luke chapter 23. I'm going to read verses 29 to 31. And this was Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, telling, the Israelites back then of 70 AD, when the Romans came down on the Israelites in great wrath. But everything written aforetime was written for our learning, and those Romans are going to come down on you Israelites again in even worse wrath. These Romans being the Edomites, so-called white people. For behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bear, and the paps that never gave suck. Because, survival is hard enough, but imagine how much more when you have to take care of children. It'd have been better off if you didn't have any children. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. People trying to find any way to survive, these calamities that are coming down the pipeline. And you had Israelites, flee Jerusalem during 70 AD. But hey, you won't be able to flee that like that in America during 70 AD part 2. You're going to have to flee spiritually to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, putting that hedge over you. Verse 31, for if they do these things in a green tree, when things are still good, again, food, running water, electricity, these other amenities that make this so-called modern life easy, what shall be done in the dry, the times of Jacob's trouble, worse than no other? Which brings me to 2nd Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha. I'm going to start at verse 14. Woe or destruction to the world and them that dwell therein, because we're coming into the times of Jacob's trouble like no other. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. And that one people against another goes into many things: race warfare, class warfare, generational warfare, political warfare, because there will be civil unrest in this country. And what? Citizens versus non-citizens, and swords in their hands. And the modern day sword is that gun. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. And it's going to get so bad out here that people aren't going to give a shit whether you've got a suit and a tie, a badge, or a government title. As we just read in those articles, you had a major CEO out here that got deleted. And even though it wasn't, targeting Janet Yellen, you had a carjacking taking place near her in the Secret Service. Nobody is going to be safe out here from the wrath of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And when this society truly does collapse, people are going to turn their anger to those they put their faith in. these elected government officials, these rich people they turn to for answers, you name it, they're going to want blood, their pound of flesh. And the course of their actions shall stand in their power. People are going to be getting it how they live. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. What does that sound like? A state of martial law, which can easily happen from an economic collapse, civil unrest in this country, or another pestilence out here causing health lockdowns. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And it says in 2 Esdras chapter 8, verse 50, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter days have walked in great pride. Yahweh Bahasham Yahushua is about to judge you people, especially in the United States of America, for all the wickedness you've been indulging in. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. The love of many shall wax cold, that psycho spirit, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, food shortages, and for great tribulation, these many other calamities of Jacob's trouble out here. And as we've been reading in those articles, you've got record number carjackings, house invasions, especially of celebrities, and shoplifting. And all that is being done in a green tree. How much more when it is dry, when there are food shortages out here, when people are just living second to second to survive themselves or to save their families, and you're the only thing that's standing in their way. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. It just keeps strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babol, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.